Fantastic literature is one of the first genres that kids are introduced to. It's the fairy tales, it's the stories with the talking animals, the flying horses, and the magical children that fill up the early bookshelves of our childhood. And this makes fantastic literature incredibly powerful because it's introducing children to concepts and beliefs about their world, about what is true, even as it's showing them something that can never be true in their present world. And that is part of what draws children to it, right? That they want to imagine more than this present reality. But for the very reasons that it's powerful, we often dismiss fantasy literature as childish because we read it as children, instead of seeing it as incredibly powerful, introducing ideas that we continue to hold often throughout our lives, without attributing them to the stories that ignite those ideas in the first place. So, fantasy is powerful, but what really is it? What makes fantasy different than fiction? How is a fantastic world different than simply the fake story that's been imagined in a fictitious text? Well, fantasy is something that is beyond this reality. Fantasy is something that, whether it is magic or monsters or a post-apocalyptic setting, it is something that goes beyond our present reality. In science fiction, sometimes going beyond our present reality through science and technology can very often sort of approach a future reality, such as imagining an underwater vehicle that later inspires the creation of a deep-sea submarine. Imagining flight to Mars sort of inspires the public to start embracing and exploring the idea of actually traveling to Mars in the future. But that still remains science fiction, even if these technologies are later achieved, because at the time they are written, for the audience they are written to address, it's beyond our present possibilities. So, thinking about that, you're going to, as a group, answer 2 questions from your book to sort of determine, evaluate how well our text from today created the fantastic. So in your text, it says, as you're sort of evaluating fantasy, one of the questions you ask is, does the story have an internal logic and a consistency that allows the impossible to seem plausible? And particularly plausible in nature, because we're looking at nature and fantasy. And does the author provide a unique imaginative setting? How does the setting move beyond our realistic natural world, while, as we go back to the previous question, still having that internal logic? So, as a group, and this is our first big group discussion, we're going to see how it works. If it kind of implodes on itself, we will reevaluate and figure out what to do next. But hopefully this will work, and so we can start sort of laying the groundwork for future group projects in this class. You are, as a class, or as in the 2 groups, so the discussion board will automatically divide into 2 groups, or you choose a group. You're going to identify, each student is going to take one of these boxes, and you're going to answer these 2 questions for that tale. And then you are going to, in a couple of sentences, respond to the questions for your group and the books for your group. You're going to reply to your group members' posts, and then you are going to respond to the replies that you received. So you're going to make an original post, you're going to reply to your group members' post just within your group, and then you're going to respond to the replies that you receive. And we just want to see if we can have like a full conversation in a discussion board setting using these questions and this format. So Let's see how it goes. And as you are thinking about how you evaluate art and stuff, here are some other sources that look at, say, the psychology or the symbolism of color and illustration, things that your book is touching on. And if you want to look deeper into individual artists, there are some pages that relate to these specific artists, particularly like the art journey of Jerry Pinkney, which is looking at the Caldecott illustrations that this award-winning illustrator produced.